Alright y'all, welcome back to another project resurrection video. We're going to be taking the 610 and going around this bulkhead where the gaps are, especially on that side because there's a pretty decent sized gap over there. It's not going to be as zoomed out as everything usually is because I'm going to start using the front camera, that way I can actually see what y'all are seeing. Hopefully one day I'll get a GoPro or something fancy like that so that, you know, it's a little bit easier to see what y'all are seeing. I just grabbed some 610 epoxy from West Marine, so you know, grab the caulk gun and go ahead and start filling all these gaps. Once those gaps are filled, I got some like mixing sticks I can actually show you. So obviously you don't have to use these, you can use popsicle sticks. I just didn't feel like going to the store right next door to grab popsicle sticks, but this is what they look like. So yeah, and that's what they are. So we're gonna be using these for making a nice edge here. That way the fiberglass can actually lay up against it nice and smooth, and decreases our amount of sanding because we all hate sanding. And once this is all tabbed in, which I'm probably gonna, well, I have to finish the roof first before I tab all of that in. I can tab it in some areas, but once all that's finished, then we can remove these screws, remove the wood and all that great stuff so that, you know, none of us, well, none of me gets punctured on this, because I'm sure that probably wouldn't feel good. Of course, I didn't bring anything to cut the tip with, so guess it'll be the multi-tool. If you do end up getting a Milwaukee caulk gun and you're trying to use 610, best thing to do is just take this off and then put it on, because it's so much easier. Because I don't know, I guess this is like a little bit longer than your average caulk tube, so yeah, and then you can just take it and, you know, screw it back on. But I don't expect any of y'all to be, you know, the way I was and just decide to spend $230 on a freaking caulk gun. So. Also, I like to rotate this until I have this here, because you can see the black plunger right here. That way, you know, once you get to close to the end, you know you're not gonna bust the tube with an electric one. Let's turn that. There we go. Kind of. Yeah. That'll work. I don't know if this is gonna get the whole bulkhead. That's the one thing that sucks about this 610. Is they give you this giant tube, but literally like that's all the epoxy that there is in here. Like I mean it's less than half the actual size of the tube, so you know, you're paying like, I don't know, $25-30 for not even half a tube of thickened epoxy. It's kind of crazy. May have to actually remove one of these screws to get it nice and where I want it. And that's all she wrote. And that is why I got 2 tubes. Yeah, so like this is a brand new tube. And that's where the plunger is. Like that's crazy. Yeah, we're healed over a little bit, but y'all can see. Also, I gotta be kind of careful when I'm doing this. I kind of do it a little at a time because the last time this tube just like exploded and freaking epoxy went everywhere. It wasn't fun. All right. So that took less than 11 minutes to blow through like $40, $50 worth of thickened epoxy. Alright, now I'm just gonna take this stick, use the end here and this side that has like the little triangle thingy. I guess you could use the other side, it doesn't really matter, but that's the side that I'm gonna use. I'm gonna try to wipe some of this off somewhere where I can use the access somewhere. Yeah, that's why you wipe off the access, because that's a decent amount. I'd like to use that somewhere. Oh, Jesus. Huh. A very good question. Okay, tell you what. We're gonna use it right up here to fill some screw holes. Well, bolt holes. Oh, Jesus. Almost lost them out. I don't have a clue where else to use this. Surely we can find somewhere over here to use it. Okay. Gap over here. I think I'm actually gonna tape this off and, well, no. Let's see. Okay. There's some gaps in this thing that could be filled. I did not think it'd be this challenging to find things that need to be filled. Blast. All right, well, I'm gonna work on finding things to fill with this. What we're gonna end up doing next, more than likely, is either A, building the template for this bulkhead, or I do have the bulkhead. I was able to get it out in one piece, so maybe, just maybe, we can get lucky and that'll work. The bottom of it is pretty rotten, so I'm gonna do my best to get a decent template off of that. I'll probably make it like an inch bigger around the edges, just so I got some room to, you know, trim off if I need to. So yeah, other than that, I'm just gonna be searching for holes pretty much. So, yep. All right, a lot has happened since the last little video where we did the 610 and stuff. Yeah. So I'm gonna flip the camera around and then kind of give you all a rundown on everything that's happened. Also, working on the floor. Yeah, so I'm gonna flip the camera around, kind of show you everything that I've done so far. All right, so we got this bulkhead cut out. I was able to use the template. It was rotten, but I kind of took the average of things, and I mean, it didn't, work out perfectly, but we'll get to that whenever, we go to glass this thing in, which will be pretty soon. I added in I didn't add them in. They were here before, but they weren't quarter-inch, or they were quarter-inch, now they're 3/4. So both of those are in place. I did that today, actually. That's why that clamp isn't off there yet, because I still need the spacing to be correct. The reason I'm not glassing in this bulkhead yet is because I need to glass in this entire bulkhead here before I glass in this one. Otherwise, I won't be able to access all the bulkhead that's back behind here. So that's why we're waiting on that. So while we're waiting for stuff to cure and all that, I'm working on the floor. Another thing I guess I should probably add that I did, this is thickened epoxy that I used in between these joints, because this is like I think 9 foot across or something like that, maybe 10. So no, actually it's 9.5 feet across. So a 4x8 sheet won't work. So I had to, use 2 sheets, and then this sheet is kind of just glued to this one with thickened epoxy, and then we'll grind down 2 little areas on the sides here, and then put in some good fiberglass. Same thing with the other side, and then we're gonna tab it to the hull, and then fill in all the little voids and stuff that we need to. But anyways, another thing I also did, I took the frames apart for these windows here. I've got it to where it's just nothing but glass, and Pensacola Glass is actually gonna cut the windows for me. So that's awesome. I can reuse the frames. I'm hoping I can find some weather stripping. If not, it's not a big deal. I can just make it out of like 5,200 or something like that. So yeah, now we're working on this floor here. To kind of give you an idea of how I did this, I took all these little strips here and laid them along the edges here. They're I think 4 inches wide, and laid them here, and then going across for whenever I add in the other little space right there, because still can't make up my mind on what I want to do about that fuel tank. But I need to make up my mind pretty quick, because we're getting to that point. But anyways, then I flipped the board over. I put a whole bunch of screws in it to kind of, grip a hold of this, and then I traced everything out with Sharpie, as you can see, and then numbered everything. That way I could flip the whole thing over, and then flip all the strips and put them on here. That way everything's still lined up exactly the way it's supposed to be when it gets flipped back over. A little complicated, but pretty easy. So anyways, yeah, once I got all the screws and everything out, I flipped all this back over, and now I'm gonna be laying down some epoxy and yeah, maybe some thickened epoxy, not sure yet. Kind of glue all this together, and then after that I'm going to do fillets around the edges here, and then glass over that, and glass the bottom so that moisture doesn't get to it or anything, and then probably prime and paint it. One of the things I'm doing, since this floor is split in 2 pieces, and I kind of did that on purpose, that way I can get to the fuel tank if I ever need to, if I even decide to have a fuel tank. So what I'm gonna do for support wise is these 2 here, so this one and this one is gonna have a gap that overlays this piece of wood. And then over here, this is gonna have a gap that overlays this piece of wood. So there'll be like strength on both sides, even though there is a fiberglass, pan here that everything's going to be bolted to and secured to. Just a little bit of overkill. But yeah, other than that, yeah, we did remove the compression post, because that thing was getting all in my way. And yeah, so now I'm just working on gluing all this stuff together. I reckon I'll film a little bit of that, not too much, because y'all kind of get the idea of what I'm gonna do. But yeah, there's a decent amount of progress going on here, and I'm gonna make a some sort of cover that goes over this giant hole here. I wanted it to where the hole was big enough to where the engine could still come out and be serviced, or, worked on. God forbid we blow a head gasket or something. Still wanted it to be able to be worked on. So that's why that giant hole's there. And I'm gonna make kind of like a overlay cover that goes over this entire thing, where it kind of makes that hole a little bit smaller for when the dinette goes over here. And yeah, it'll be removable. It's not gonna be glassed in or anything like that. It will be fiberglass, but it won't be fiberglass to this bulkhead. So yeah, I guess I'll do a little bit of filming of this here. All right, well, I'm gonna let that cure up, and once it's finished, I'll move it out of the boat, and that way I got a little bit more working room for fiberglassing. We'll do all the fillets and everything, and then lay a layer of glass over that. I know what y'all are thinking, all that dang dirt on this wood and it's getting into the epoxy. Well, I'll go ahead and stop you there. It's okay, we're gonna sand it, it don't matter. So yeah, other than that, that's about it. We're gonna do the same process that you just saw right there onto this big old piece here. And then after that's done, well, I guess the floor would be done. And then at that point, we get to continue working on that. So yeah, I imagine this video is probably gonna be decently long as it is. If I had to guess, I'd probably say somewhere around 25, 30 minutes. But if not, then we'll continue, but more than likely this will be the end of this video. That'll go ahead and give me a chance to get a video released for these 3 days off that I've got, because I do want to go sailing. So I'd like to take my other boat out, actually use it a little bit, and still be able to work on the boat and have progress going on. So yeah, if this video continues, then well, that part would be really awkward. But if not, well, I guess I'll see y'all in the next episode.